3 women vanish without a trace, no signs of struggle, no forced entry, and no answers for over 30 years. A mother, her daughter, and a friend, gone in a single night. No ransom note, no suspects, just a shattered porch light, a few personal items left behind, and decades of haunting silence. This is the story of the Springfield Three, one of the most baffling unsolved disappearances in American history. Sherrill Levitt was the kind of woman everyone in town knew by name. At 47, the petite, 5-foot-tall cosmetologist with light blonde hair and warm brown eyes had built a quiet, hard-working life in Springfield, Missouri. A single mother, and a devoted one at that, her bond with her only daughter, Suzie Streeter, was unbreakable. Suzie, just 19 years old, was described as spirited and sharp, standing 5 feet 2 inches, with shoulder-length blonde hair, piercing brown eyes, and a scar on her upper right forearm that hinted at a story left untold. Her left ear was pierced twice, and a small mole at the corner of her mouth made her instantly recognizable to those who knew her best. With Suzie that night was her close friend, 18-year-old Stacy McCall. A recent high school graduate with a bright future ahead of her, Stacy stood 5 feet 3 inches, 120 pounds, with long dark blonde hair and light-colored eyes. She was the kind of girl who always showed up when it mattered, until the night she didn't. June 6th, 1992. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Suzie Streeter and Stacy McCall had just graduated from Kickapoo High School. Friends, family, and classmates filled the Hammond Student Center as the girls walked across the stage, their futures seemingly just beginning. Among the crowd was Sherrill Levitt, watching proudly as her only daughter received her diploma. After the ceremony, graduation parties sparked across Springfield. Suzie and Stacy made the rounds, posing for pictures, sharing laughs, and savoring their last night as high school students. Stacy even received a graduation gift, a tiny Cocker Spaniel puppy, before heading to her friend Janelle Kirby's house to continue the night's festivities. Sherrill, meanwhile, opted for a quiet evening at home, turning down an invitation to dinner from Janelle's family. Originally, the plan was simple. The girls would attend a few parties and stay the night at Kirby's. But around 2 a.m., things changed. With Kirby's home filled with out-of-town relatives, Suzie and Stacy decided to head back to the Delmar Street house instead, where Suzie was eager to show off her brand-new king-sized waterbed. Janelle's mother recalled overhearing the girls as they left. "Follow me to my house," Suzie reportedly said. "Okay, I will," Stacy replied. That would be the last time anyone ever heard from them. The following morning, Sunday, June 7th, Janelle Kirby and her boyfriend, Mike Henson, showed up at the Delmar home. The girls had never arrived back at Kirby's, and they were all supposed to spend the day together at the Branson Water Park, Whitewater. What they found instead was unsettling. The front door was unlocked. All 3 women's cars were still parked outside. Inside, there was no sign of a struggle, but also no sign of Sherrill, Suzie, or Stacy. The house was eerily silent, except for Cinnamon, the family's Yorkshire Terrier, who appeared frantic and distressed. A glass globe from the porch light was shattered, though the bulb itself remained intact. Without thinking, Henson swept the broken glass off the stoop, unknowingly destroying what may have been a crucial piece of evidence. Then the phone rang. Kirby answered, only to be met by a teenage-sounding male voice making graphic, sexual comments. Disturbed, she hung up, but the phone rang again with another obscene call. Suzie had reportedly complained about prank calls ever since moving into the house that spring. But these were different, more aggressive, more intentional. Kirby and Henson left the house shortly afterward, choosing to visit a local Springfield water park instead. Later that day, Stacy's mother, Janice McCall, arrived at the Delmar residence. Her daughter had promised to call her that morning. She never did. Inside the home, nothing added up. Stacy's clothes from the night before were neatly folded in Suzie's room. Her underwear and t-shirt were missing. The girls' purses were lined up on the floor, untouched. Susie's cigarettes and an open can of Coke were left next to her bed. On her headboard sat a copy of Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, a graduation gift. The TV was still on, playing static, and Cinnamon, the only witness, was still there, barking, whining, frantic. Even more chilling, a message was left on the answering machine. Janice listened to it once, and then, as was common with answering machines at the time, it was accidentally erased. Investigators believe that message may have contained a critical clue. It wasn't until more than 16 hours after the women were last seen that police were officially contacted. By then, any chance of preserving the scene was long gone. Up to 20 people had passed through the house, cleaning up dishes, tidying surfaces, even emptying ashtrays. Evidence, if it ever existed, was now likely destroyed. Still, what remained painted a strange picture. No signs of forced entry, no blood, no screams heard by neighbors, just an unlocked door, a broken porch light, and 3 women who had seemingly vanished into thin air. Sherrill had a doctor's appointment scheduled for the following Monday. Stacy was expected at her job at the Springfield Gymnastics Center. Suzie had a shift at the local movie theater on Tuesday. None of them ever showed up. As 1992 drew to a close, there was a flicker of hope. On New Year's Eve, a man called the America's Most Wanted hotline. He claimed to have inside knowledge, prime knowledge, police would later say, about what happened to Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall. But just as the call was being transferred to Springfield investigators, the line went dead. The man never called back. Authorities issued a public plea for him to reach out again. He never did. 5 years passed. In 1997, Sherrill and Suzie were legally declared dead, but their case, and Stacy's, remained open, officially categorized as missing. Then came another twist. In 2007, local crime reporter Kathy Baird received a disturbing tip. A claim that the women's bodies had been buried beneath a parking garage at Cox Hospital in Springfield. With help from mechanical engineer Rick Norland and a ground-penetrating radar unit, they scanned the southern corner of the structure. What they found was chilling. 3 distinct anomalies, each roughly the size of a human body. 2 lay parallel. 1 was perpendicular. To Norland, it resembled a potential grave site. But the Springfield police weren't convinced. According to spokesperson Lisa Cox, the tipster provided no evidence or credible reasoning behind the theory. And the parking garage hadn't even been under construction until September of 1993, more than a year after the women vanished. Excavating the area, Cox said, would be extremely costly and without probable cause, unjustifiable. The source of the tip, according to former Greene County prosecutor Darryl Moore, it reportedly came from someone who claimed to have either a psychic vision or a dream. In the weeks following the disappearance of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, police began to look closer at the people in the women's orbit. One name stood out, Dustin Reckler, a former boyfriend of Suzie Streeter. Reckler wasn't just a teenage ex, he was also under active investigation. Months earlier, Reckler and 2 friends had broken into a mausoleum in Springfield and stolen gold fillings from a human skull. It was Suzie who gave a statement to police about the crime. She was rumored to be a potential witness. And the night Suzie and Stacy vanished, Reckler and his 2 accomplices were reportedly together, and in the area. Another name emerged, one far more sinister, Larry Dwayne Hall, a suspected serial killer with a twisted double life. By day, Hall traveled across the Midwest participating in Civil War reenactments, but authorities believe he used those events as cover, abducting, torturing, and killing dozens of women from the early 80s through the mid-90s. On June 6, 1992, the very day Suzie and Stacy graduated, reenactments were held both at Wilson's Creek National Battlefield, just minutes from the Kirby home, and in Pleasant Hope, 30 minutes north. Hall was known to frequent these gatherings. Years later, A former FBI operative named Jimmy Keene was placed undercover in prison to gain Hall's trust. Hall confessed to murders in haunting detail, describing acts no one but the killer could have known. He even claimed to have kept a map of his victims' burial sites, a map that vanished once Keene revealed his identity. Most of Hall's alleged killings happened during Civil War reenactment months, March, June, August, and September. The Springfield Three disappeared in June. Then came Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper, a suspect in a Florida homicide, and in 1992, a Springfield resident. At the time of the disappearances, Cox told police he had been at church with his girlfriend the next morning. She backed up his story, until years later when she recanted, admitting that Cox had asked her to lie. He also claimed to be at his parents' house the night before. They confirmed it. In 1997, Cox made a chilling statement to journalists. "I know they're dead. I know they were murdered. And I know where they're buried." He refused to elaborate, saying only that he would reveal what really happened to the three women after his mother passed away. To this day, Robert Craig Cox remains silent. Decades have passed. Thousands of tips have come in, more than 5,000 by the latest count. Yet not a single one has led to answers. As of 2025, the case of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall remains unsolved. 3 women, 3 lives, 1 night, still missing. In June of 1997, 5 years after their disappearance, a bench was placed in the victims' memorial garden at Phelps Grove Park, a quiet tribute in the heart of Springfield. A place to remember, a place to reflect. But it's not closure. Over the years, the haunting story of the Springfield Three has drawn national attention. The case has been featured on America's Most Wanted, 48 Hours, and Investigation Discovery's Disappeared, an episode that re-examined the disappearance through the lens of new interviews and unresolved leads. In 2019, People magazine Investigates aired a tabloid-style special titled The Springfield Three, bringing the story back into the headlines. And in 2021, journalist Anne Roderick Jones launched an in-depth investigative podcast, The Springfield Three, a small-town disappearance, revisiting the case through interviews with friends, family, and former investigators. It reignited public interest, but no new answers emerged. 3 women vanished from a quiet home on East Delmar Street in the middle of the night, without a struggle, without a scream, and without a trace. No witnesses, no suspects, no solid evidence. Their names were Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, a mother, her daughter, and a best friend. They didn't run away. They didn't disappear by choice. Someone knows what happened that night. Someone is still keeping a secret. And until that secret is revealed, Springfield will never forget the shadow left behind by the Springfield Three. If you found this case as chilling and heartbreaking as we did, consider sharing this video. Keeping these stories alive is how we keep the pressure on and how we honor the victims. Don't forget to subscribe to the Asylum for more deep dives into the most haunting unsolved cases, disturbing disappearances, and twisted true crime mysteries. This has been another case from the Asylum, where the truth is never as simple as it seems. Stay curious, stay cautious, and as always, stay safe.